The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
Don't wake me up.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Being shown in a vision, curiosity got me stuck. Yeah, 7 hands, 10 horns on the waters.
How you doing?
Praising up. I see crowds, flaming floors. Is it war at the door? I've been searching for it. I can't get it out of my head. I see the stars are falling down. This temper's
Shalom, shalom. I won't be on long, but I have a few announcements.
chase goes on and on. I'm not giving it up. 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 I'm not giving it up.
Giving up.
I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up. I'm at the point understanding dreams are the real time. Reason why they wake me up. I try moving on, but my body is stuck. My conscience is raised, an angel pick me up. Awaken from this matrix.
Awaken from this matrix.
Down on the globe, blood dripping from his robe.
I know He can fix this. I see a burning Rome and our people coming home. Can I please get a witness? Witness.
I'm not coming down till I get this. These predictions can't be superstition. The decision being shown in the vision.
This is it.
Yeah, I can't get it out of my head. Yeah, the stars are falling down. This temper's upon my bed. The chase goes on and on. I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up. No. Giving it up. I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving it up.
That's right. I'm not giving it up. Let me close this door real quick. Let me close this door. Yes. I'm back, Elder Rick Archiar of the Gathered of Christ Church, here with our weekly Patreon update. Lord, I'm not giving it up. Brothers and sisters, hold on. Let me take these headphones off. Let me take them off, okay? We'll take the headphones off for a moment. Man, I started off this particular update with the song "I'm Not Giving It Up," right? Shown in a vision. Everything that's going on, right? Being pulled from the matrix, right? Like it's all in that song, right? When you're pulled from the matrix, okay, it's like in the matrix, you take the red pill to see how far the rabbit hole goes. I had to start it off with that particular song, folks, because the more we look into it, the more we realize how important the Bible is prophetically and what's going on in our times to actually make sense of what's going on in the earth. That's why I thank the Most High for the Bible in of itself. I thank the Most High for the Bible in of itself because it's the only book that quantifies everything. Of course, experts, historians, and others can look at past history to make some type of analysis or calculation on where the world is going. Okay? I'm not throwing any shade on anyone who will see that from that vantage point, because the Bible covers that too. But all in all, the Bible quantifies it and gives us the proper perspective on how to navigate through it. That's why I thank the Most High that the God of the Hebrews revealed this sacred record to his people. Okay, first and foremost, you take that pill and you see how far the rabbit hole goes. And guess what? That pill is the Bible. Let me tell you, there's no topic we can talk about or scenario that any of us has experienced within the earth or are experiencing that cannot be found someplace in the Hebrew record, Old or New Testament. So I thank the Most High for that, first and foremost. And today I just thanked him. Even when I got up in my mind, I'm just thanking the Most High. I went to the bathroom and I said, thank you. Many prophets, teachers, and others long to see the day that we're living in right now. And even though it seems grim, okay, we're living in the times the prophets seen in visions, like I said in the song, right? But it's surreal to actually be living in this particular time and space, all right? So that's something to be grateful about. And I thank the Most High that with all the confusion out there, the Most High has given us eyes to see, ears to hear, through the spirit of the first begotten of the Father, his Son, the Christ, Yeshua. And I'm grateful. Okay, there's a lot that can actually pull people down when you look at society in of itself, but when you see it from heaven's view and can make sense of it, it's not that grim. Okay, it's grim seeing our people in it, but at least we're not pulled in it and lost within the confusion. And I thank the Most High for that going into the Sabbath. Okay. And I'm quantifying that today with the topic today that I'm going into. Okay. Because it's a lot of grim stuff, but we're going to make sense of it so that our people will understand how to do what? Move from out of it. Okay. If we've been sucked into the matrix and are subjected to it, we cannot make excuses for it anymore. Okay. It's time for us to be pulled out of it all the way, right? To navigate through it and to help pull others out of it. And that's what that song, my son was rapping on that song, actually, Azel. And we went to the studio and we worked that song together, A Vision. Don't wake me up midstream in a dream, don't touch, I've been taken up. With the visions of John, Daniel, being shown in a vision, curiosity have me stuck. There's 7 heads, 10 horns on the waters raising up. Right? I see crowds, flaming floors. Flaming floors is what? Hell coming to the earth, consuming people in this party called Babylon. Okay? Flaming floors. Is it war at the door? Right? So, and then, I sat down with my son and said, listen, we need some more in-depth context when it comes to you rapping. I'm going to give you the words to the second verse. Rap what I give you. And hey, he delivered, right? So the whole deal is the song in itself tells us in the song in the second verse, it says, looking down on this globe, blood dripping from his robe. I know he can fix this. See, we can't fix this. It was fixed at the crucifix. Looking down on the globe, blood dripping from his robe. I know he can fix this. I see a burning Rome. That's in the scriptures, Revelation 17. I see a burning Rome and our people coming home. Can I please get a witness? Witness. I'm not coming down until I see these predictions being shown in a vision. It just ended. The whole thing was the prophecies of Daniel as well as John and what the Most High have actually shown us in these last days. And we quantified it in a song to say, you know what? If you're looking down on the globe, you're not caught up in it, right? You've been pulled out of the matrix to see the real deal and not be affected like so many who has accepted the dark and is walking in it. Today I'm going to talk about something important. Y'all see the title. I'm going straight over to Patreon. I'm going straight over to Patreon, right? I'm going to show you what I'll be going into. One moment, real quick. One second.
And we begin tonight.
I'm going to show you what I'm going into. One second here. Man, I don't know what's going on in Houston. There's some weird stuff going on in Houston. Houston, we have a problem. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. One moment. I'm going to show you we have a problem. We have a problem. We have a problem, folks. I don't know what's going on in Houston, but I'm going to go over a few things of what we'll be talking about before segueing over into Patreon, okay? Real quick. I'm going to be segueing in a couple of minutes. I'm a little late, but hold on, Patreon loyalist. Hold on. Okay, hold on. This is what I'm going to be going into. CPS employee tells 14-year-old to become prostitute under the CPS system. Now, right now, they're scrambling to cover this up. But one thing I recognize in this story, and I'm going to talk about it over in Patreon, that for some reason, they say they fired this worker, right? They fired the worker, but yet they refuse to give her name publicly out so that others can avoid this woman getting moved someplace else, okay, to do the same thing. Now, is this something that's constant within that particular organization that was actually set up to protect kids? Was it really set up to protect kids is what we're going to go on, protect children? I'm going to go into this. Here's a grown woman urging a 14-year-old girl to hit the street. And the vulgarity in her language. These are our people, folks. So my question is, we know that some people has been incentivized against us. Why do we continue to allow these people to operate within our systems, within our communities, without engaging them, knowing they exist? And if you say something about them, then automatically people like this, if you try to highlight the behaviors that lead to a woman like this, automatically she's protected. Look at this woman. Automatically, if we try to go after someone with the behaviors that lead to a woman getting hired within one of these agencies to come after our children, we can see the behaviors of these women before they get there. But if you try to do anything, it's as if the system are protecting bad behavior so that these people like this can destroy another generation of our people. We're going to talk about that, right? We're going to talk about that. And the stories are connected. Same-sex couple charged with sexually abusing adopted son. Now, one thing about it that you can rarely find articles that show their true names. Well, they are arrested, so it's on record. But I need y'all to notice, folks, that these two guys right here, these two guys are really the face of sex trafficking. These guys you see right here are the face of sex trafficking. Hold up, let me pull it back. They're the face of sex trafficking, but yet they'll try to every week put up R. Kelly and others as the face of sex trafficking. Okay? Not to excuse him, but I'm going to show you how our people will go and totally be on the side of the media to attack a brother or attack a black man, because a black man gets no respect in our society. But you will not hear not one black person, woman, or anything stand up and say, listen, we need to do something about these two guys right here, these white guys. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Right? Now, what's disheartening here, brothers and sisters, is that what? What's disheartening here is that no one is identifying the child that was abused. As if they're covering the story up. But all in all, they say child, but they won't tell you whether or not this is a black child. That was an underprivileged black child that was taken out of the system to be protected by a two-parent household. Now, usually they come up and say, well, usually healthy children come out with two-parent households, knowing that really the letter people are really the smallest percentage of our population. So they don't really count into that two-parent success rate for children that are raised under those households. They're only a small percentage, but they two-parent, usually good children come out with two-parent, knowing that it's talking about, traditional male and female households is where the healthiest children are raised. When they're under a two traditional family household, they're healthier. Okay. But they try to get into that too and throw themselves in, only being less than 5% of the population. I'm going to show you how these particular, and I'm sorry, my Patreon members, you have to wait, but this YouTube, the brothers and sisters throughout the world and the YouTube community have always supported the church. So we have to give you something before we have to, we can't just say do it over Patreon and just leave our people out with at least what we're going to cover. Okay. There's still teaching moments within the updates. All right. Next, some people might ask, well, what does this have to do with the Bible? Well, great question. Great question. The Great Pyramid of Giza with the all-seeing eye. The Great Seal under the Illuminati. The Great Seal of the Illuminati. You may ask, well, what does this have to do with the Bible? Huh? Young black girls getting prostituted under social programs. You might ask, what does that, you have two white guys, okay, who they say a gay couple now, whatever they want to call it, okay, got access through the system legally to have a child in which they were actually having intercourse with, okay, and putting it online for sexual exploitation. Now, of course, you're going to have the splaining from either side to say, well, this could have happened under any circumstance. And that's what happens when you demoralize a society. The scapegoat is, well, this happens with other couples too. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, And I'm going to be able to speak about it more plainly without censorship on Patreon. What I'm talking about is the legal system allowing children to be raised under certain circumstances that was once illegal. What does this have to do with the New World Order, you might ask? Well, before these stories came out about that couple, before these stories came out, these particular groups, since Obama and Biden, has been incentivized. So it's one thing to have an organic scenario where someone does something against children, but it's another thing to put a dollar sign, okay, an unlimited number of resources and finances against, for a certain particular type of group, okay, that can now incentivize the negative behavior, okay, as if they're funded as social mercenaries against God's people. And that's where the New World Order comes in at. Novus Ordo Seclorum. Annuit Acceptus Novus Ordo Seclorum. The New World Order. Because when you look at this pyramid right here, when you check out this pyramid, it brings us back to the Bible. Who are these people? Why would you incentivize and finance a small segment of the community against traditional values? Why? When really the majority of the money should be going to the majority of those who would stand with what? Moral and traditional values. It seemed like they're putting all the money towards the smallest percentage of people, okay, for a specific reason, funding Satanists and others against traditional families and those who believe in God. What does that have to do with the Bible, one might ask? Well, pull up your Bible. Pull up your Bible real quick before I thank you, Patreon members. Just hold tight. I'll be right back. I'll be right with you. Okay. Let's go into Eastward real quick. Let's go to Eastward and let's pull up the Bible real quick. Let's pull up the Bible. Okay. 1 second. Let's pull up the Bible. Going into Egypt. Some people might ask out here, what does all this sexual immorality has to do with the pyramid in Egypt? You know, I like to tie these things together. And this is what the government and others will hide from you. They will hide the connection between America's construct and the Egyptian construct that had the children of Israel, our people, in captivity. It was a political construct made to keep us boxed in, to serve a lower people. Okay? When our people began to stand up against injustices within Egypt, what happened? Right off the bat, they began to make life harder for us. Well, I'll tell you what, make brick without straw. Do the same amount of work and get paid less. See, this is what they're doing now. To keep us in a box. To keep us in a box. Because if we cannot rise financially, automatically it limits our propensity to rebel. Okay, we work harder. We're too tired to actually bring forth some type of spiritual revolution against this wickedness. Okay, so, okay, all right. So you people, so you want to stand up and multiply more than us, huh? So we have to put a construct for population control. We have to make sure it's designed that your men do not live out the lifespan to stand as an army. Okay? What they call reproduction rights. All of that happened in Egypt. You don't believe me? Let's read it. Let's read it. Exodus 1:8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Which knew not Joseph. Okay, let me make it big so you can see it. And there arose a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So our people came in Egypt 70 strong and became mightier. Families, community. Okay, we were isolated amongst ourselves and protected as Egyptian citizens. Why? Because it was through our brother Joseph, one of our fathers, one of the patriarchs. Joseph, Imhotep, is why Egypt became a great country, a great nation. It had everything to do with the God of Israel, not the gods of Egypt. So we were protected under the government for a time in Egypt. And because of this, it allowed our people to grow without intrusion, without population control, without the government coming against us. We were able to grow happily in Egypt as a nation. So, but this threatened the status quo amongst the Egyptian people. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when they falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them out of the land. So they came up with a construct. They came up with a political ploy to move us out of Egypt for a new building project that would have the leaders of the Israelites move from what? Upper Egypt into another area while the Egyptians conspire against us. Okay? Now, and then they began to conspire. This is politics, folks, I'm talking about. This is no religion. This is politics we're speaking. Therefore, they did set over them. Here we go. This is what I want to talk about the CPS worker and those other two guys. What are they? Taskmasters. Taskmasters. Those who would do the political bidding for government and get incentivized against us. Hence the reason why they will protect a woman who was trying to prostitute a young Israelite daughter here in our current time. And shield her by not putting out her personal information, without telling people who she is. Why? Because she's incentivized. Is she a part of the letter group? Was she actually paid to be in that position to do this to our daughters, so that now they can groom up another young girl to take her place down the line, who would become systematic mammies under these agencies? Taskmasters, people who have an axe to grind against traditional values and are upset. Why? Because they weren't raised with the protection of traditional families. So now they become taskmasters, incentivized by government, put in high position to do what? To afflict them with their burdens. And how will they afflict them with their burdens? And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses. You would put these people, these hurt people with issues, over societal projects. Okay, that would be what? That would be used as a way of these taskmasters controlling the servant class of the pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid. So you put the smallest percentage of people over the majority of those who are suffering in a society. But you would make sure you would put hurt people, damaged people, unbelieving people, nihilist people, evil people, incentivized over the poor population. Now, that wasn't enough, because our people survived through it all. But the more they afflicted them, 12, the more they multiplied and grew. They could not stop the children of Israel from reprocreating. And that made the government angry. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. It doesn't matter what we put in place. We'll call them diseased. We'll say that they are dumber than everyone else. If they're athletic, we're going to use athletic as a code word to say they're really dumb. Okay. So when you say athletic, even though all people are athletes, whether you be black, white, or whatever, you're on a football team, you're an athlete. But the white quarterback is the smart quarterback, and the black quarterback is the athletic one. So they would do all types of things to throw shade at our people because they are grieved at the gifts and the spiritual prowess and how we excel even during oppression. They are grieved at that because the majority of races would have been given up or revolted altogether, but yet we thrive. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with vigor. See? More work, less money. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and brick. And hold up. And check this out. But that wasn't enough, folks. That wasn't enough. The taskmasters aren't just the immoral, like we see those two guys that are really those two guys we showed you is really the face of sex trafficking. Okay? Would do this to a little boy, and they're purposely hiding the ethnicity of that little boy who was raped. And I'm going to show you that and exploit it. And now that little boy going to grow up after being raped by these two white gay couples. And he's going to grow up with what? He's going to grow up with what the Bible calls a reprobate mind, so that now he can be groomed to become an offender, as his quote unquote parents were. And the cycle continues. These are the taskmasters, folks. This is why they put so much money into a small group of people. But it's not enough for them because they become the taskmasters over the nurses, over the secretaries, over the women. Okay? The two white guys become the taskmasters over the women. So then they have to target and control the nurses. It's all in the Bible. This is the modus operandi we see on a high class, on a high level today, on an industrial level. The same thing they did to Egypt is what they're doing now to us. And the king of Egypt, 15, spake to the Hebrew midwives, let's find the women. Let's now amongst our women make them nurses. And it doesn't matter, folks. It doesn't matter what sector of society dries up in our communities, okay, where there's not a job. There'll always be a job where a woman or whoever would like to be one becomes nurses. There'll always be a job to sever from amongst us certain people that would do Pharaoh's bidding against us within their what you would call their health systems. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives. Now, if you try to take a stand in the hospital concerning certain treatment, which you have the right to, automatically these people will actually have one of our sisters come out to try to convince us to do something against ourselves. And the king of Egypt spoke to Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shapur and Puah, and said, when you do the office of a midwife, a nurse, to the Hebrew woman, when you see a Hebrew woman step in and ready to have that baby, and you see them upon the stools, if it be a son, the attack on black babies, the attack on Hebrew babies, If it be a son, then you shall kill him. You shall kill him. Don't tell me our men aren't under attack. This is why they're trying to make it seem as if we don't exist within society, because why? We are contrary to their thoughts, and we were made to oppose systematic evil. So what they've done was incentivized our sisters to become nurses or in high position of empowerment to suppress the true spiritual rebellion against evil. And we can't speak about this. You know why we can't speak about this? This is why we can't speak about this. Let me show you. Let me go here. It's the New World Order. This is why the New World Order have incentivized, housed, financed, clothed, and gave food to only one segment of our society as a political play against the men. Because there's no recourse if the man say he's not taking anything less than what the Bible says concerning a woman. There's no recourse because what? There's nothing to lose. If she can't lose home, if she can't lose food, she don't have the propensity or fear to hear anything a man has to say. And that's the system they set up purposely to kill the Hebrew man. To stunt the power of a Hebrew man. And then people will come back later and say, well, what about the men? The men aren't incentivized. There's no incentive. There's no consequence for a woman not following what a man says. And when a man does say something, he's censored. He's shut out. He's ostracized. He's called a basher. When he's really trying to protect the future, seeing where society is going, knowing who the government is incentivizing against us. And we're speaking out for self-preservation. We're speaking out to save our people. And guess what? And it's being censored. I can't say what I want to say right here. I have to go someplace else. Men are standing up, but they're not listening. And this is why we're going into the story of the CPS employee who tells 14-year-old girl to become prostitute. Because this woman right here, you see this satanic evil woman, outright, folks, the government and others are protecting her. They will not put out her name. And if we were to point out the signs that would lead to such a person, seeing this in our society, and our people purposely ignore this evil that's next door to us, that we see operating every day as if it doesn't exist, as if it isn't going to destroy our society. When we try to point it out as men, the behavior that lead to such a woman who would put a woman on the street, we're bashers. We're bashers. Or why do you speak about more so what women are doing opposed to the men? We'll hear that. Well, guess what? There's a consequence for a man who would do something like this. We know better. Number one, we understand the government isn't going to hide our face, and the government isn't going to hide our name publicly, okay, to move us somewhere else to harm another young boy or girl. We know that there's consequences for us doing something like this. Okay, so this behavior is incentivized on one side, and it's dangerous. Okay, that's why it's uneven. That's why we have to speak about the dangerous part of society that's rarely unchecked within our society, because it's doing danger. And it's harming the same little girls that we all say men are supposed to be protecting. Because we allow monsters like this to operate unrepented, where the government can move them around to do what they would like to do. When this young girl grow up and become worse than that woman, would that be a man to blame for that? So the government of Egypt understood. The government of Egypt, I'm going to get them all. I'm going to show you more over there on Patreon. The government knew to go to the midwives first, even though the midwives say, I'm not going to do it. But if you incentivize a woman to administer whatever they need to administer under the health care plan, under what's going on now, they can just pass it off to claim that, listen, it's not me. I'm doing my job. But back there in Egypt, our women knew not to come against the men. That these young boys would grow up to be the army to one day protect them. Now, if you're going to destroy them from the womb, if you're going to destroy them and keep them down in society where they have no power, and if they say anything, they're ostracized, then how can we now have an army of men to protect you? So all that stuff talking about men don't protect, that's garbage too. And eventually, everyone going to have to take a side. This is the Egyptian way we're under. This is why you have the New World Order showing a stinking pyramid from Egypt. It's the same order. Everyone have to pick a side. And we're not going to stop it because people try to shame or say stop talking about it. Because you know why? Because when we stop talking about it, I'm going to get there in a second. When we stop talking about it, they put people like this in play. This woman here. This guy will put this woman in play. And I'm going to talk about that on Patreon. And then women like this go to a 14-year-old girl and say, under CPS protection, this evildoer, look at her, and told this little girl, if you're going to be an HOE, you got to be a real one. Coercing this girl to go out and sell her body on the street at 14 years old under CPS care. And y'all coming to the men talking about there's no protection. When are we going to stand up and rid ourselves of these people? How can we protect a girl in CPS protection where there's mammies who are incentivized to go out and do this to our daughters? Now, if you're going to be empowered and equal, guess what? It comes with the responsibility. It doesn't come with protection. If you're destroying our people inwardly, and that's your social programs. That's your social programs that are set up in our system to probably help, as they claim to help us, but really, it's opening our children to guys like this. Sexual abusers who adopt children. So that's all I have to say until I go to Patreon. I know Lawyer is waiting on because we have a lot of stories, a lot of videos to go through. Okay. I'm going to start off with Biden lying to our people, claiming that he has the black man's or the black people's back. Guess what? We're going to start with that. We're going to start with him claiming that he has the black people's back. He has our back, all right. Okay. As much as these guys had that boy they adopted's back. Okay. Okay. So we're going to start there. And then we're going to go into the stories I've just mentioned on Patreon. And I hope you'll join us. Okay. I hope you'll join us. Okay. Now, before I end, and I thank you all. I went beyond the time. We at 1:30, so we'll start Patreon in about two to 5 minutes. I'm only going to be on Patreon for about an hour and a half today. Before I do that, let me let you know what's in store. Okay, one moment. So we're under the Egyptian New World Order, but on a systematic level. And unless you know the Bible, you don't understand. You're just caught up into each component of it, and that confuses you. You have to step away and see it for what it is to know how to avoid it and to know why a small segment of our population is getting incentivized against us. They're taskmasters. Okay? They have an axe to grind against traditional values and those who believe in the Bible, and the government has incentivized them as agents against us and have put them in all high position. Okay? Under the corporate construct. When you go to a corporation, you'll see them there over you. And they're the ones that have put the batteries in our sisters' back to try to oppress the men that are there. They're everywhere, folks. They're incentivized under politics, in politics. Okay? All over the place. They are incentivized. And it's time that our brothers and sisters get behind what's right. And stop defending you can't say this about women. If it's wrong, why can't we say it? That's just still defending evil. If you're not related to it, and you're not the person that's acting like that, why do you care? If women are getting criticized on certain areas, if you have no relation to her at all, if you don't have no relation to the evil, why would you say, well, say something about the men? Why would you want us to not identify a part of our society that goes unchecked without consequences, that is daily destroying our people, when men can't do that? Okay? If a man was to be in CPS and told a woman, a young girl 14 years old, to get on the street, guess what? That would make international news, and his behind would be locked up with his name plastered on CNN and every other place, real time. So it's balanced. It's uneven. That's why we speak about this destructive behavior in our society, because why? There's a consequence for men operating like that. We don't have to talk about the men doing it. They'll get locked up. Okay. Guess what? They'll be plastered like R. Kelly, publicly ostracized through the media. And you would have the letter people talking about it. You have the sisters talking about it. How can he put a 14-year-old girl on the street? I mean, what's going on with our men? Blase, blase, blah. And everyone would toe the line. But I bet you it won't happen with this sister like that. They won't even put out her name. So it's not even. We have to focus on the taskmasters and who are and the people they're using, like the nurses that we read of in the book of Exodus, the midwives. We have to focus on them. Their names were highlighted. Their names are there. If you don't believe me, look at it. In the Bible, the nurses that Pharaoh tried to get to kill the young boys, our people. The Bible named these women. The Bible named these women right here. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, which the name of one was Shipra, and the name of other was Puah. The Bible identified, if these women would have did it, all of us would have knew their names. Okay? But yet, if a woman want to put a 14-year-old daughter of Zion on the corner, the government is going to hide her face and protect her name? Folks, let me tell you, this Patreon is going to be great today. I can't wait. As a matter of fact, I have to go over. Thank you, my Patreon members. I know I'm a little late. I'm coming right over. And we're going to open up the phone calls early for Patreon. Thank you for being loyal Patreon members, okay? We're going to open it up early for you so that we can get some calls on some of this stuff. And before I go, I would be amiss if I didn't mention, let me pull it up here. Excuse me. Let's see. I would be amiss if I didn't mention that August 28th begins a new Hebrew and Bible Academy, okay? Right here, get your Sunday morning dose. The Hebrew and Bible Academy starts on Sunday, August 28th, 9 a.m. New York time, Eastern time. Okay. Learn the original Hebrew. On the ground news interviews from around the world. We're going to have interviews, and I'm going to try to do that with the UK people, bringing some people in and have some experts come in during the at least 10 minutes in this academy. And all new updated lessons. Okay. Also, we have 5 brand new lessons never taught anywhere. You can't find this online, YouTube, any place. Okay, we've put these lessons together for you and you only first in the Hebrew Bible Academy. There are lessons where we sent out through PDFs that were put together, well studied with white papers, studies, resources, everything you need to actually back up what's being taught in the academy is actually the information within the PDFs that are sent out to you weekly, straight through your email. If you've already enrolled and you haven't received a response, hold tight. Something will be there soon. Make sure you check your spam or junk, okay? Check your spam or your junk folder to see if it's defaulted there. Sometimes with mass, with bulk email, it defaults until you tell it, okay, this is not junk, this is not spam. And going forward, it'll come directly to your email. So make sure you check that first before reaching out to claim that you haven't received a response back yet. But you will. You will. We have people on standby in case things do get lost. That happens also. We have 5 brand new in-depth lessons, maybe 6. I'm working on a lesson. If I fix it and get it together before the academy, I'll add an additional one. We have brand new lessons for the academy, a new heaven and earth, to show you what happens at the very end after the 1,000-year reign. That's right. Our people will reign on this earth with Christ for 1,000 years upon the last war. Okay. When the last war happens, Christ is coming to intervene and establish those in righteousness who have always loved and believed on him. A brand new lesson called a new heaven and earth that's already being made and prepared as we speak. Okay. It will come into existence as this earth came into existence, but without the darkness. And I'm going to go into that in week 12, a new heaven and earth. So you must go through the whole academy to get this particular lesson. Why? Because everything has an even flow. It starts with the creation of the heavens and the earth, week 1. It ends with a new heaven and earth, week 12. So each academy has its own concept, okay, where it has an ebb and flow that gives us knowledge and more in-depth information from one academy to the next. As we grow in knowledge, the more it's conveyed to you. So you're going to have to be throughout the whole academy to get this a new heaven and earth, which will be week 12, putting a explanation point on what? The first week, from the first week. All right. Number 2, the priesthood and mysteries of the Essenes. Who were the Essenes? Well, we're going into the history starting with how the Most High set up the sons of Aaron, Moses' and Aaron's Levitical priest line. Well, the Essenes come directly from that genealogy, okay? It was the priests being severed from society after the fall of Babylon to preserve the records we have in the earth today, okay? To also substantiate the fact that the Bible is true. You can't claim that the Essenes records were tampered with because they were found in the Qumran caves, separated from the so-called white man, which actually gives validity to the Old Testament. Because a lot of what we see in the Old Testament, Isaiah and others, these were also found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, almost verbatim to our Old Testament King James Version and some of the other Hebrew records or the Bibles that were translated before the King James. Next, so we're going to go into the mysteries of the Essenes. The fall of Judea. How did our people fall to such depths? We as the children of Israel, the sons of Judah, we lost Judea. Our people didn't start in Africa. We ran into Africa, okay? Israel is right there, northern Africa. It borders northern Africa right next to Egypt, okay? We're the Israelites. We're Judah. We lost our stance in 70 AD, and I'm going to go into that history. Secular history, white papers, universities all concur, all agree with the fact that our people, blacks who were brought here in captivity, are in fact from the genealogy of the children of Israel who lost Judea. So we're going into that history more in depth, and we're going to talk about during the split between Israel and Judah, the 10 tribes. Where are they? How did they look before the conquest? And did it say that the Latinos and all that would they actually look mixed, even though you can see our features in them? But the Bible says the 10 tribes would be mixed based on the 10 tribes, losing their position almost 720 years before Christ came on the scene. So a lot of the 10 tribes don't look exactly Negroid, but they're still us. And I'm going to prove that in this lesson, the fall of Judea. I'm not just going to talk about our people, the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. I'm going to go into the 10 tribes also. Who is the synagogue of Satan? Christ identified them and says, I know our poverty and tribulation, but thou art rich. But we are rich. In Revelations 2:9 states, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Well, what is the Bible talking about here in Revelation 2:9? Is there a particular political structure in place to hide the synagogue of Satan? Are we looking for the one Antichrist while dismissing or avoiding the Antichrist ministry that's in the earth, who are the synagogue of Satan? Well, that and more will be covered in our Hebrew and Bible Academy. And we have other lessons that I'm working on, but I'm not going to announce it unless it's finished. And if it's not finished, I'll just announce that for the next academy. Okay? With that, we thank you for being loyal brothers and sisters who have always followed us and prayed for us here in the Gathering of Christ Church. None of this could be possible without your support. We thank you for all you do. Okay? Before I segue to Patreon, go to historytimes.org. Historytimes.org. Enroll. Okay? You'll get your welcome packet well before August 28th. All right? And we'll see you in the Hebrew and Bible Academy. Don't miss it. We'll start with, that's right, the creation of the universe. How was the earth made and how long did it take? Okay? That will be the first lesson for our Hebrew and Bible Academy, beginning August 28th. And I hope to see you there. Okay? Thank you, Dell, for putting that in the chat. All right? All right. So it's time to go. It's time to go. I'm sorry. Patreon, A Gathering 144. All right. We thank you for being loyal Gathering of Christ Church members. We'll see you tomorrow for the Sabbath. And that's right. The Most High is calling back Israel. We're the children of Israel, and we're back. Stay prayed up and sin not. Come over to Patreon. Shalom. And guess what? We only charge $5 a month for Patreon for our loyal Patreon members. And guess what? It's great. It's a great conversation. We're going to jump into the phone calls early, okay, this time. And yeah, come on in, because at least we, over there for now, over there, we can actually say what we need to say without, speaking in code. Shalom. See you in Patreon. See you on Patreon. Shalom.
Search me out.